very beautiful morning out there, and welcome to another edition of In the Papers, your daily nugget on stories making headlines in today's newspaper. Of course, you're listening to us from iPower 102.7 FM. You know how we do it every morning. We bring to you major stories making headlines in today's newspaper. We'll be taking stories from, we have stories from The Punch, we have stories from The Hope newspaper, we have stories from This Day newspaper, we have stories from The Guardian, we have stories from The Nation's newspaper. I am Florence Ibhareman, and of course today we have major stories making headlines, and we're going to be taking headlines from, we have stories from The Hope talking on terrorism. We have the U.S. lawmaker lots Nigeria rescue of 100 abducted school children. Still taking headlines, we have headlines from The Hope as well, talking on federal government launches 50 million equity free grant to boost campus innovation. Still taking major headlines, we have this one from The Hope. It says court refuses Kalu's request to leave Sokoto prison. Away from The Hope and now to The Punch, where we're talking about federal government seeks speed trial of terrorists. Also taking headlines from The Punch, we have this one: Tinubu orders rescue of 115 Bago receive 100 schoolgirls. Also taking headlines from The Punch, we have this one: Nigerians agri sector lacks in technology, ex-AFDB advisor warns. Still taking headlines, we have this one from The Punch. It says Burkina Faso grounds Nigerians military aircraft over airspace violation. Also, we have this one from The Punch. It says Fubara meets Tinubu in Aso Rock amid defection rumor. Also talking on insecurity, we have this one: Northern Forum demands probe, and that was from The Punch. Away from The Punch, we have this one from Tribune. It says court delist INEC from PDP convention suit. Taking stories from Daily Post, we have this one. It says work with state government to prevent future kidnapping. Tinubu orders security agency. Still taking stories from Daily Post, where we have troop neutralizes suspected bandit in Sokoto. Away from Daily Post and now to The Nations, where we have federal government initiate 50 million research entrepreneurship grant for students. Still taking headlines from The Nations, we have this one: talking Tinubu in private talks with governors. Away from the nations and straight to the Guardian, where we have EU countries back streakers rules as asylum and deportation processes. And lastly, from The Guardian, where we have Rep issues NNPCL boss December 15 appearance deadline. We will go on a short break. When we come back, we'll start with the major stories from the headlines. Glad to have you back. You're still listening to us from iPower 102.7 FM, and the program is In the Papers, your daily nuggets for stories making major headlines in today's newspaper. And of course, I have this one talking counter-terrorism, and it's from the Hope newspaper. It says U.S. lawmaker lots Nigerians rescue of 100 abducted school children. Now the details. United States Congressman Raleigh Moore has raised concern over Nigerians' rising security challenges, saying there is much work still to be done during a meeting with the country's National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu. He, however, commended the recent rescue of 100 of the abducted school children in Papiri, Niger State. In a statement on X on Monday, Moore said both country talks focus on terrorism in the northeast and ongoing killing in the Middle Belt, and highlighting these issues as key concern for both himself and President Donald Trump. He said the delegation and Nigerian officials examine concrete steps and actions that he believes could improve security if carried out fully. The congressman noted there was more concrete steps and actions discussed at length that, if fully executed, I believe will enhance security across the country for the Nigerians, disrupt and destroy terrorism organization in the northeast, and still stop the killing of Christians. He also referred to the rescue of the 100 abducted Catholic school children, thanking the Nigerian government and President Bola Tinubu. For details of that story, see the Hope newspaper with this headline: U.S. lawmaker lots Nigerians rescue of 100 abducted school children. Still taking stories from the headlines, we have this one talking federal government launches 50 million equity grants to boost campus innovation. Now the details. The federal government on Monday unveiled a 50 million naira student venture capital grant aimed at promoting innovation, research excellence and entrepreneurship across Nigeria's tertiary institutions. Speaking at the official launch in Abuja, the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, said the program represents a strategic national investment in young investors and aligns directly with President Bola Ahmed's renewed hope agenda for education. Alausa described the SVCG as more than a grant scheme, noting that it is designed to identify high potential ideas for campuses and nurture a culture of creativity and entrepreneurship among students. He said beneficiaries would receive up to 50 million naira in equity-free seed funding, along incentive incubation, expert mentorship, and access to network and crucial startup building tools. The initiative is jointly implemented by the Federal Ministry of Education and Tech Fund in collaboration with the Bank of Industry, Afara Initiative, AfriLab, and Entrepreneurship and Skill Development Center, and Google. According to the minister, the program is open to full-time students in federal, state, and private tertiary institutions from year 3 and above, with young students allowed as team members. For details of that story, see the Hope newspaper with this headline: Federal government launches 50 million naira equity free grant to boost campus innovations. Still taking stories from the Hope, we have this one. Court refuses Kalu's request to leave Sokoto prison. Now the details. The Federal High Court in Abuja on Monday declined the grant of ex parte motion filed by the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kalu, seeking to be transferred from the Sokoto Correctional Center to another custodial facility close to the Federal Capital Territory. Justice James Omotosho refused the request, stating that Kalu's application, moved by Legal Aid Council of Nigeria lawyer Demdo Hassan, could not be granted by the way of the ex parte motion. Kanu, who was convicted on terrorism-related offences on November 20 and subsequently sentenced to life imprisonment on verdict. A verdict his family has rejected and vowed to appeal. Following his sentence, Kalu was taken to Sokoto Correctional Center to serve his sentence after the court held at the Kuje Custodian Center in Abuja was not suitable for him. However, a filed motion before the trial court requested that he be transferred from Sokoto facility to another custodian center closer to Abuja, suggesting Suleja, Niger State, or Kefi Custodian Center in Nasarawa. The motion as since in the motion, Carlos sought in order of compiling the complaint and of course Nigerian Correctional Services to forthwith transfer from Sokoto Correctional Facility to the custodian facility within the jurisdiction of the Honorable Court. Earlier on December 4th, Justice Omotosho had fixed Monday for the hearing of the ex parte motion after declining to give audience to Carlos' younger brother, Prince Emmanuel, who announced an appearance for the IPOP leader despite not being a legal practitioner. For details of that story, see the Hope newspaper with this headline: Court refuses Carlos' request to leave Sokoto prison. Away from the Hope and now to the Punch, where we have federal government seeks speedy trial of terrorists. Now the details. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Lateef Fagbemi-San has urged the judiciary to expedite hearing in cases involving terrorism, human trafficking, kidnapping, and other violent crimes, stressing that the judiciary must support a national effort to combat insecurity. The AGF made the appeal on Monday in Abuja during a ceremony marking the commencement of the Court Appeal 2025-2026 legal year. The event was also attended by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nsam Wike, who promised improved accommodation for judges to allow them discharge their duties without distraction associated with poor living conditions. In his remark, the AGF said all hands must be on deck to tackle the country's insecurity challenges, calling on judges to support the government by fast-tracking the trial of terrorists. Fagbemi said at the solemn junction in the national life, it is also impossible to ignore the grave challenges of insecurity that confront our country, from insurgency to terrorism to bandit to kidnapping and violent crime. These threats imperil not only the safety of our citizens but also the very fabric of our constitutional democracy. He stressed that the judiciary is more effective than terrorism cases. He said that the judiciary is more effective when terrorism cases are swiftly heard. While acknowledging that the court needed more personnel, he also said the present administration was committed to strengthening the judiciary. For details of that story, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Federal government seeks speedy trial for terrorism. You're still listening to us from iPower 102.7 FM, and the program is In the Papers. To join us on our social media handles, we have ourselves on Facebook as iPower 1027 FM, and of course on Instagram we have ourselves as iPower 1027 FM. And of course, to join us on our studio line on the stories read so far, we have ourselves on 0816 552 4699, 0816 552 4699. Also, we have ourselves on 0813274 7339, 0813274 7339. Still taking headlines and major stories, we have this one from the Punch. It says Tinubu orders rescue of 115 as Bago receives 100 school girls. Now the details. A wave of relief and jubilation swept through Niger State on Monday as 100 school children abducted from St. Mary's Private Catholic Primary and Secondary School in Papiri local government area returned safely to their families after nearly 3 weeks in captivity. President Bola Tinubu, welcoming the return of the 100, immediately renewed efforts to secure the release of the remaining 115 pupils and their teachers, directing security agencies to intensify operations and ensure the safety return of all victims. St. Mary's Private Catholic Primary and Secondary School Papiri was invaded on November 21, 2025, with the Christian Association of Nigeria claiming 303 students were abducted. By November 23, 50 of the school children escaped captivity and were reunited with their family. The proprietors of the school and Niger State CAN chairman, Reverend Bullocks Yohana, confirmed that a total of 227 students, including 12 teachers, were abducted during the attack, with the return of 115 students and 12 students remained in captivity. For details of that story, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Tinubu orders rescue of 115 as Bago receives 100 school children. Still taking headlines and taking stories from the Punch, we have this one: Burkina Faso grounds Nigerian military aircraft over airspace violation. Now, the details. The government of Burkina Faso said a Nigerian Air Force aircraft carrying 11 soldiers were forced to land in the country on Monday after reportedly violated its airspace. The development was reported by the agency The Information, the Burkina state-run on news agency, which published a statement from the Confederation of Sahel States. The statement, translated from French, read: the Confederation of Sahel States informed the public that a C-130 aircraft belonging to the Air Force of the Federal Republic of Nigeria was forced to land today, December 8, 2025, in Bobo Dioulasso, Burkina Faso, following an in-flight emergency while operating in the Burkinabé airspace. The military aircraft had 2 crew members and 9 passengers on board, all military personnel. The statement added that an investigation by Burkinabé authorities highlighted the absence of authorization to fly over the territory of Burkina Faso for this military device. The AES condemned the incident as a violation of sovereignty, saying it condemned it with utmost firmness the violation of its airspace and the sovereignty of its member state. The body warned that air and anti-aircraft defense of the Confederation space put a maximum alert while authorized to neutralize any aircraft that would violate the Confederation space. For details of that story, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Burkina Faso grounds Nigerian military aircraft over airspace violation. Glad to have you back. You're still listening to us from iPower 102.7 FM, and the program is In the Papers. We have a story coming to you from the Punch. It says Northern Forum demands probe over insecurity. Now the details. The Northern Progressive and Advancement Forum has urged the Department of State Service and the Nigerian Immigration Service to investigate the possibility possibly arrest politician alleging calling for foreign intervention in Nigerian security matters. The forum issued a warning on Sunday at the end of the meeting in Birni Kebbi, describing the comment as a direct threat to national security. Its spokesperson Alhaji Abubakar Yusuf said recent statements credited to some northern politicians, particularly the Zamfara state, were reckless, dangerous, and bordering on treason. According to Yusuf, freedom of speech is not a license to sabotage the country because of personal or political grievances. He alleged that some individuals who once benefited from public offices are now framing insecurity simply because of bitterness and political rivalry. Arewa Punch recalled that Senator Kabiru Marafa recently struck controversy during a media appearance on television where he criticized the federal government handling of insecurity and suggested that Nigerian might need external support if the situation continues to deteriorate. For details of that story, see the Punch newspaper with a headline: Northern Forum demands probe over insecurity. Away from that and now to the nations where we have Tinubu in private talks with governors. Now the details. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu yesterday has held a closed-door meeting with some governors of the All Progressive Congress (APC) and other parties at the State House in Abuja. The purpose of the meeting was not immediately cleared, and details of the agenda were not divulged to reporters at the press time last night. The nation learned that the governors of Kebbi and Sokoto State arrived first and were later joined by others from the south. Those who attended the meeting included Governor Umar Nnamdi Jigawa, Monday Okpebolo Edo, Biodun Oyebanji Ekiti, Usman Ododo, Kogi, and Aliu Sokoto, Lucky Ayedatiwa Ondo, and Dr. Nasru Idris Kebbi State. The meeting, which lasted about 2 hours, was held in the president's office. Although no officials of the presidency gave a hint about the meeting, it came amid recent mounting security challenges facing the nation. It also coincided with the ongoing national political consultation and preparations ahead of the key party and governance engagement. But the governors declined to speak on the meeting when reporters asked what it was all about. President Tinubu also yesterday met separately with Rivers State Governor Sulai Fubara and Ebonyi State Governor Francis Onwefuru at the State House in Abuja. For details of that story, see the Nation's newspaper with this headline, Tinubu in private talks with governors. Away from the Punch and now to the Guardian, where we have EU countries back stricter rules for asylum and deportation processes. Now the details. EU member states says it's aiming to tighten the rule for asylum seekers who claims have been rejected and process deportation more efficiently. This is according to a plan announced on Monday. It says the 3 in 4 irregular migrants who have been issued a return decision in the EU continues to stay here instead of returning home. The Dutch Immigration Minister Ramos Schotkloos, who chaired the talk. The agreement struck at the meeting of EU Interior Minister in Brussels will mean that people without a right to stay in the EU will for the first time be subjected new obligation. Failed asylum seekers will also face penalties if they fail to actively cooperate in the deportation process or to present identification documents immediately upon request. Penalties can include the reduction of benefits, a long entry ban, or in some cases imprisonment. In addition, stricter rules are to apply to people who are categorized as security risk. The agreement also opened the way for migrant return center in third countries. Additionally, EU countries can, on a voluntary basis, recognize and enforce a deportation decision taken in another EU country without having to start the procedure of issuing a new return decision. For details of that story, see the Guardian newspaper with this headline, EU countries back stricter rules for asylum and deportation processes. Welcome back. We have this one coming from the Daily Post, where it talks about troops neutralizes suspected bandits in Sokoto. And now the details. Troop neutralizes several suspected bandits on Monday as they invaded to rescue traders who were ambushed along the Karawa route in Sabon Brenin local government area of Sokoto. The gunmen attacked the trader The gunmen attacked the trader on their way to Tara village to the weekly market in Sabon Brenin at the Kwanan Akimbo around 8 a.m. on Monday. The soldiers said to have stationed in the Kurawa town responded swiftly after hearing gunshots, engaging the attackers in gun duel that last nearly an hour. The army engaged them in a fierce battle, while the bandits later retreated and fled to their enclave across the stream. Nine bodies of strange bandits were recovered in the area, and another 4 were found in the nearby bush along the stream. A soldier also recovered several weapons and motorcycle and took them to Karua, while 2 civilians sustained injuries and were receiving treatment in the hospital. All traders were all rescued unharmed. A source explained that there was no casualty on the side of the army. He explained that communities in Karawo and neighboring village were celebrating the successful operations. For details of that story, see the Daily Post newspaper with its headline, Troop neutralizes suspected bandits in Sokoto. Yeah, glad to have you back. You're still listening to us from iPower 102.7 FM, and of course the program is in the papers. We'll take you to the next segment of the program, where we'll bring in our in-house analyst that will be giving us some major highlights of the various stories read so far. And of course, to reach us on our studio line is 0816-552-4699, 0816-552-4699, and also 0813-274-7339, 0813-274-7339. Yes, glad to have you join us, Akin Adebayo.
Thank you for having me on the program today.
And of course, you've listened to the various headlines and major stories for today. We'll begin with this one from the Hope, talking on counter-terrorism. U.S. lawmaker laud's Nigeria rescue of 100 abducted school children. What do you have to say about the U.S. talking on the lawmaker?
No, thank you very much for having me on the program. It's a welcoming and a certain comment from the U.S. lawmaker. Because if I'm not mistaken, it was the U.S. lawmaker in person of Ted Cruz that first initiated the idea that Nigeria should be placed on the country of CPC, country of particular concern, when it was later read by the President of the United States. So if another lawmaker is now commending Nigeria for the rescue of 100 abducted children, I think it's a certain relief that indeed the Nigerian government, through the armed forces, are now responding positively to the demands of the U.S. President Donald Trump. And secondly, at least the fact that a U.S. congressman could laud Nigerian government for the rescue is a plus, because now at least there will be a kind of relief that, okay, the pressure being mounted by international, by foreign countries rather would have been reduced now. And at least that Nigerian government, through their military, they are now more responsive compared to how it was being done before. That's brought about the categorization of Nigeria under the CPC. So I think I want to commend the Nigerian government for doing that wonderful yeoman job, and most importantly, need to put in more effort in rescuing the other abductors. About 115 of them still in the camp of the terrorists and other people that are called abducted in other parts of the country. So Nigerian government should be up to the task, and they've really proven that now with what they've just achieved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much on that amazing insight. So we have a caller on the program. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, can you hear us from the end? Good morning, and where are you calling us from? Hello? Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm Olayinka calling from Zaria.
Oh, Olayinka calling from Zaria. What's your take and your comments on the headlines read so far?
Thank you very much. What about the issue of kidnapping and the issue of insecurity in Nigeria, most particularly the issue raised by the president, the U.S. President Donald Trump, by calling Nigeria a country of particular concern? And now we are having the issue that the president and the security forces, especially the armed forces, are working tirelessly to make sure that they rescue the kidnapped victims. The thing is, they didn't have to only rescue, they have to go in line and go in touch with all the people that are terrorizing the country, because if they are trying to just take back the kidnapped victims, they will be going forth against air and air, but they're targeting them as well. It will be an issue for them because they will not want to come out to make all these attacks they are taking on. For instance, the issue with the advocacy that the Nigerian government rescued another 100 citizens from Niger State as well. See, this issue has become a recurrent issue that is going forth here and there. So everywhere you go now, there is the issue of insecurity. Anywhere you are, even at your home, there is no safe even in Nigeria currently. But my own concern is that the Nigerian government and the Nigerian armed forces should try as much as possible to fight in individuals, because I believe they know them, and they need to put this in place. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Olayinka from Zaria. It was nice listening to you. Yeah, that's his own perspective. It says the government should try to work on a more improved way, so much that the insecurity would be curbed or would be minimal in the country. Yeah, still taking analysis from the story. We have this one from the Punch. It says from the nations, from the hopes. I beg your pardon. It says federal government launches 50 million equity-free grant to boost campus innovation. Talking on free grants and equity, equity-free grants, what is that notion really talking about?
Yeah, of course, when we say about free grants, it's something that is obtainable, even in, let's say, foreign schools. We've seen a case whereby people are given grants to even go to schools in foreign land. So if the Nigerian government now deems it fit to grant institutions 50 million for innovation, I think is a welcome development. It's a complete, let's say, deviation from the theoretical aspect of learning in Nigeria. And our theory so far has not provided, or should I say, has not met up with the international demands. Take, for instance, in China, how many people are professors there? How many people are reading the way we Africans are reading? But look at the innovations coming out from China. Look at what they're producing from China. So if this curriculum, that's why I really want to appreciate the government as well for that, at least for a bit shift in the curriculum these days that now borders down on entrepreneurship. Because, like I've always said, any education you acquire, and that education cannot provide or cannot produce something that can be useful either by yourself, either by people around you, then it's no education. I'm sorry to say this, most of the education we are receiving in Nigeria are education that are not practicable. But the fact that the curriculum is now being changed and the government is now investing more on innovation, they are investing more on entrepreneurship, I think is a welcome development. It will bring about the industrialization of Nigeria. It will bring about a direct shift from the theory now to the practical aspect of it, which is what we actually need if really we want this country to really develop. And since the grant is a free one, then there won't be any pressure on the beneficiary of such grant. But there should be monitoring. That's the most important thing. we shouldn't just go on media and say that we are granting maybe 50 billion as case may be or what have you, and at the end of the day, the thing is being embezzled. So we should not. You see, when you put your money in somewhere, you should be able to monitor the implementation and the usage of the money. So releasing the grant is not enough compared to the monitoring. It must be monitored that okay, this grant that is being released is being used for the purpose that it was being released for. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much on that insights. Let's take a quick look lastly from the Hope, talking on court refusing Kalu's request to leave Sokoto prison. I don't know, but looking at this controversial discussion, what would you think is the reason why the court actually refused Kalu's from leaving Sokoto prison?
Thank you very much. The person that actually presented that expected injunction is not a qualified lawyer to have even presented it in the first place. Who drafted it? The lawyer that drafted it, wouldn't he have come to present it rather than Kalu's lawyer and younger brother appearing for him? He's not a qualified lawyer. He cannot appear. He's deemed to be an alien in the Nigerian judicial system because he's not a qualified lawyer, so he should not appear for his brother. Okay, when Kalu is now requesting that probably he should be transferred, of course, he might think that where he is not safe. But one thing is this: the very minute a judgment of this nature is pronounced, maybe a death sentence, maybe life imprisonment, as the case may be, it is not expected of you to still be in the prison or in the detention facility where you are being tried. You will be taken to a place that will be safe because the very minute you are still there, it is possible that your people might come there, maybe to come and invade the place. Okay, look at the case of Awolowo. Awolowo was sentenced to life imprisonment in the southwest. He went to serve his his jail term in Cross River. Look at the distance. So you cannot expect the difference to not to be apportioned to him. But of course, he's the Nigerian. He still has fundamental human rights. Despite the fact that they have been sentenced to life imprisonment. But even if you want to appeal, Kanu should have engaged a qualified lawyer to present that expertise and not his younger brother. It is not a relationship affair. It's not a brotherhood affair.
So if they had gone through the right route, you think it will have been honored?
Well, I wouldn't know that because granting such expertise is at the discretion of the Honorable Justice. It's at his discretion. So I cannot be so sure that maybe it would have been granted such relocation. But the person actually presented it. He is not a qualified lawyer. He shouldn't be the one to have gone to present such expected injunction. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's leave the Hope and now dive straight to the punch where we talk about insecurity and the rescue of 100 schoolgirls. So Tinubu is ordering the rescue of the remaining 115 as Bago receives 100 schoolgirls. Talking on insecurity and the recent kidnapping, and talking of the release of this 100 schoolgirls, what do you have to see on the hopes of Nigerian as to if the 115 remaining would be released or rescued?
Well, thank you very much. And number one, you see, whenever I read stories like this, that people are rescued, and we couldn't really record any maybe terrorists arrested or maybe even killed, no gun duel, as the case may be, then it's given for serious concern. That maybe they went to negotiation. How could 100 have been rescued and they're still holding on to 115? So, well, irrespective of how they are rescued, all we just need is that those students and their teachers should be rescued. They should go back to their family. So all the same, it's still a commendable one. We want to appreciate the government for at least having rescued 100 of them. So the remaining 115, irrespective of how they want to go about it, should equally be rescued and be reunited back to their family members. So I think the government needs to be up and doing. They need to wake up to their responsibility in making sure that the country is safe for every citizen. Not that you be sleeping with our two eyes open. We should be able to go to school with with every assurance that we will not be kidnapped. We should be able to go to our various homes with the assurance that we are safe. So this idea of kidnapping, like anyway, I want to believe that for them to be commended by US and lawmakers, I think they need to do more. So I want to believe that commendation alone on its own part would make the government of Nigeria and the security agencies to put in their best in rescuing not just the 115 students that are still in captivity, but every other persons that are still held hostage by this on non-state actors. So I want to believe that this will bring about a boost in morale for the military and government of Nigeria to embark on other rescue missions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You're still listening to us from iPower 102.7 FM. We'll go on a very short break. When we come back, we'll continue the rest of the analysis from today's story. Glad to have you back. You're still listening to us from iPower 102.7 FM, and of course, our in-house analyst has been with us, giving us deep insight on the stories read so far. To reach us for your feedback, comments, and contributions, you can reach us on 081-655. 081-655-24699, 081-655-24699. Also, you can reach us on 081-3274-7339, 081-3274-7339. Let's take a look at this story from Daily Post, and it says, work with state governors to prevent future kidnapping. Tinubu orders security agents. Telling security agents to work closely with governors. Is it that they've not been working closely with governors, but at least if they work closely with governors, it would indeed prevent future kidnapping? How does that relate?
Thank you very much. The president has just given, should I say, an advice or a directive, and that still brings us to the issue of the security architecture of Nigeria. Of course, the president has to give such advice because he himself knows that the entire security architecture of Nigeria is being, should I say, is being coordinated from one singular unit, and which is wrong. Take for instance, how could now we heard about the Nigerian Army, Air Force, and Navy, as the case may be, they can be under the federal government. But what about the police? The U.S. federal system of federal character that we adopted did not even have the control of the police under one unit. We have the New York Police Department, we have the Los Angeles Police Department, and so on and so forth. Why is it that we only have Nigerian police force? It is wrong. Each state should have their own security command unit. Security is local. Had it been each state had a security unit, I want to assure you that would have this rate of insecurity wouldn't have even occurred in the first place. Because you know something for sure, that you are to secure your state. You are not being posted from Zamfara to Lagos. You are not being posted from Ondo State to Kebbi. No, you are an Ondo State indigene. You are security here. It's just like the result being achieved by Moteco. It's simply because these are indigenous persons. So that is why you really need to reject the security architecture of this country, taking it away completely, particularly the police, taking it completely from the exclusive list to the concurrent list. So this means the state governors should be able to, each state should be able to have their own security outlet. Okay, why are they bringing security vote? To give them security vote, what are they using the money for? Is it to still pay the security that's being controlled by the federal government? That is why it's very difficult for a governor to command ordinary commissioner of police in the state. He cannot, if ordinary DPO, a governor may not be able to give a DPO a direct order. But it had been, it had to be in his own state, under his own command. By the time the governor gives such order, he will have no choice and to carry out the order. He will give the DPO order. He said you have to consult the commissioner of police. The commissioner of police will tell you that you have to consult the AIG. The AIG will tell you that you have to see the DIG. The DIG will tell you that you have to see the IG. Look at the chains of command. It is frustrating. This bureaucracy is one of the major problems we are having, one of the major reasons we are having issues with our security architecture in Nigeria. So we cannot continue under this atmosphere and think that, under this security structure, and think that we have security. No, security is local. But for the governor or the president to have given that directive is a very good one. But they should take a step further by doing what, by putting the National Assembly on their toes to amend the constitution that can accommodate state policing. That is the way forward. For how long will you continue giving these orders? No. The National Assembly should should hasten up in making sure that they review the constitution so that they can accommodate state policing, and that is when I think we can have a good and resounding security at state levels. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that insight. Let's take this one lastly from Guardian, where we have European Union countries back stricter rules for asylum and deportation processes. What do you have to say about this?
Thank you very much. I will start from the issue of asylum.
Okay.
Now, it's the Japa syndrome.
Yes.
An average person would want to seek greener pasture, where I think his lot can be better off. So that's why you see people running to places that they want to believe. I wouldn't say just Europe. I wouldn't say just America. We've seen Americans, Europeans run to Nigeria. That they believe that they can come here and make more money. Do you understand? So whenever such thing occurs, then there'll be issues. But it becomes a thing of concern. By the time your visa carries student visa, and you now get there after some time, you now begin to seek for asylum. Do they even know what surrounds the issue of seeking for asylum? It is when your life is being threatened back home. You that apply for a visa and you are given a student visa, not asylum seeking. Then how do you not juxtapose it? And that is why the issue of asylum is being reviewed seriously in European countries. Because many people are hiding under that asylum to gain the citizenship of any of the European countries. So I think it's a very good one that they are trying to review the issue of the asylum. Now, when it comes to the issue of deportation, the way at which they deport is completely uncalled for. You see that some people are being harassed. It's a matter of you picking anybody that you think maybe his or her visa has expired, charge them to court. Let them be done. Let them be deported from the court. Let them face the law of the land, instead of you just manhandling them or just pick them anyhow. These are people that paid heavily before they could even travel to your countries. The fact that they're not seeking for asylum doesn't mean that you need to start harassing, abusing them. No, they still have a right, because you granted them the visa in the first place. So for them to seeking asylum now, it's for reasons best known to them, but for the government to identify that the asylum they're seeking for is not a genuine one, then the government should not take a step further by making sure that they go through the process of the law in making sure that these people are deported back and not harassing them, not humiliating them, not subjecting them to all forms of derogatory treatments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That is how far we can go today. And of course, on the program, in the papers, we'll take a very short break. And when we come back, we'll wrap up for today's program. A quick recap on the major headlines for today. We told you that the U.S. lawmaker lots Nigerians rescue of 100 abducted school children, and that was from the Hope newspaper. We also informed you from the Hope that federal government launches 50 million equity grant to boost campus innovation. Also, we informed you from the Punch, the federal government seeks speedy trial of terrorists. Many thanks to everyone that's listening today, and of course a big thank you to Akin Adebayo for giving us an in-depth analysis of the major stories for today.
Thank you very much for having me on the program once more.
Yes, and of course many thanks to everyone that's worked with us today, and we want to say a big thank you for the caller Olayinka from Zamfara for reaching out to us with his own take on the story read so far. And until we come your way again tomorrow, same time, we implore you to please stay tuned to iPower 102.7 FM as we have an endless lineup of amazing programs for your listening pleasure. Until we come your way again, the program is in the papers, your daily nugget for stories making major headlines in today's newspaper. On behalf of myself, Florence Ibhareman, I say a very big thank you to you for listening, and of course, good morning.
You're on to a station that believes